We teleport in and I'm startled by the sight of what looks like a white Sesame Street, big bird with larger wings. Its beak looks menacing, but it's missing some feathers, making it look somewhat ill. The name Polly is above it, which gives me a little bit of a chuckle.
Yes, I'm sure you heard I didn't get a race key in time.
Actually, no one mentioned it. I envy your ability to fly, though. Have you tried it yet?
Your voice.
Hannah says. I realize then my voice is back to what it used to be. We're standing near the ladder leading down to the pyramids and Polly leers over the edge.
Not exactly. When I jump, I can flap my wings and go pretty far, but I wasn't ever able to take off to the sky.
Jesse and Julian are with him and look amused, but don't say anything. Hold on, my voice is different.
Sounds the same to me.
No, it changed with his body last night. It's back to normal now.
The admins must have patched it.
Why in the world would they do that?
They must not have liked it. Plus, I think they like to remind us every once in a while that they are in full control here.
Anger courses through me. They have no right.
To what? Kidnap, imprison, murder, or just change you on a whim as they see fit? All in the name of helping you and your planet. I don't think they are very sensitive to what is or is not fair to you.
I want to explode. These aliens need to be stopped. But how can they be? They could just delete me if they see me as a threat. Or not even that, if I annoy them or if they think it would be funny. I have to be careful. I have to change the subject. A skeleton starts to clamber over the top, and Polly kicks it, knocking it off the ladder, and he does this little head bob thing that reminds me of a chicken. I wonder if he did that consciously. I see, I say, trying to move away from the topic of admins. Well, I suppose it makes sense that it takes time to learn to fly. You've only been Aviaka for a day, not even 24 hours.
And I see you found a race key after all. Your party said they didn't get one for you, Aurorican.
I smile. They were telling the truth. I suppose I just lucked out on the RNG. When he doesn't reply, I turn to Jesse and Julian and say they recommend a full party, and it would seem we have a full party right here. Surely even Julian can't disagree under these circumstances.
There is a time and a place for almost everything. This is certainly the time and place for a full party.
Julian agrees. I go near the edge next to Polly and wait for the next skeleton. When it gets to the top and almost off the ladder, I say this is Sparta, and kick it off the edge. It goes easy having its weight half on, half off the ladder. Jesse and Elliot high-five and our parties merge, so I can see all 6 of our health bars and everyone's level. Elliot and Julian are both level 20. Polly is level 19, but he must be close to 20.
Hey, Polly.
Hannah says in the group chat that can only be read in our chat logs.
What you have for dinner last night?
His feathers ruffle, and he doesn't answer. Jesse laughs.
He didn't have anything. We had some rabbit cooked up, and he tried a bite of it. Puked all over immediately after.
Jesse tells us. While it's not practical right now, I'm glad Hannah tried that party chat. It could be useful in the right situation, and we need to start exploring everything our UI has to offer.
Have you all decided on a class yet? I'm a Pathfinder. Aurorican wants to be a woodsman, and Hannah is undecided but leaning toward elementalist or fighter.
Why do you want to know?
I want to know because it seems we are likely to work together again. Relax. These guys are not player killers.
Not yet.
Julian says defensively.
I'm definitely going for fighter.
I'm gonna be a Pathfinder.
At first, I feel surprised Polly wants to be a Pathfinder, as it's such a group-oriented class, but then it dawns on me, he probably thinks it is the most likely to lead him to treasure.
And Julian is a healer.
Polly and me kick the next skeleton at the same time, and he gives me a weird squinty eye look that I think may be a bird grin. For the first time, I feel maybe we don't need to give him a hard time forevermore. He might be a decent guy that just isn't handling this situation well.
What makes you so sure?
Most guides are healers.
Really? I thought a Pathfinder made sense for a guide.
Probably does, but keeping a player alive is supposed to be the first priority of a guide, and being able to heal makes that easier. If more people would choose healer, more guides would be Pathfinders.
Sounds like we're missing an elementalist.
Not necessarily. They are great to have, but lots of people make their way around without one. It's a difficult class in the beginning, so there isn't an abundance of high-level ones.
I notice he said there isn't a lot of high-level ones. Not that there is a lack of people choosing it. Hannah nods, and there is a pause in the conversation. So, what are we going to do? This is great EXP, but will the skeletons ever end? We need to get to a boss.
If we don't wait for them to stop coming, we'll have an army of skeletons pursuing us, and the only reason they haven't killed us is because we can push them back down. If we take a different hallway and hit a dead end, they will kill us.
Fair, but even if they stop coming from this way, we don't know how far a boss is. If we want to go this way, we need to set a time to give up.
You know, we could always stay here by choice. Boss fights are always risky, especially without class abilities. You guys won't be able to choose your class, but that's not the worst thing to happen around here. Any mixture of classes can make it through the dungeon, as long as you have a healer and you have me. Elliot and me won't change classes. As guides, ours are set.
Any mixture of classes can work, but having them all helps a great deal.
Elliot says, and kicks a skeleton down. Won't the dungeon bring trouble to us if we camp in one spot for too long? I ask.
Yes, but not after just a few hours.
So we stay here for a few more hours and see if the skeletons stop coming. If they don't, we try another hallway. Does anyone disagree?
No one says anything, and she says,
So it's decided then.
it's somewhat difficult to tell time in the dungeon. Even in the rest area, the sun doesn't seem to keep a 24-hour time cycle, but I would guess it takes every bit of 3 hours before we see the crowd of skeletons at the bottom start to thin out, but the time doesn't drag. I like these people. When we knock the last skeleton down, I am level 21. The experience has definitely slowed down. Each kill of what I remember being difficult, skeletons barely moves the experience bar. Okay, let's do this. We all move toward the ladder. Polly goes down first, and when he's 20 feet from the pile of bones, he lets out a high-pitched screech and lets go of the ladder. Flapping his wings, he lands, not gracefully, but without getting hurt. Unfortunately, skeletons don't carry much loot, but they do have an inventory system, and when we get in range, it allows us to see everything available to loot, which consists entirely of gold. I get 337 gold pieces, which according to Elliot isn't a lot but better than nothing.
You all have terrible loot for your level, so don't think you can sit back and relax just because you got ahead. You need to find upgrades.
We walk the perimeter wall around the pyramids, hoping to find another hallway, but we don't.
Either this is a dead end or one of the pyramids leads out of here.
I doubt it's a dead end. We should check either the pyramid in the middle or the pyramid farthest from the ladder entrance.
We try the pyramid at the far end first, going all the way to the top of it in case there is a teleporter, but we find nothing. When we get to the middlemost pyramid, it's obvious that it's the right one. While the outside of it is identical to the rest, the inside is one giant staircase down 30 feet into an equally wide hallway leading to a door. That's gotta be trapped, I say.
I'll check it.
Working on those Pathfinder skills?
Instead of answering, Polly walks toward the door, but stops a few feet short and looks at the ground.
I think there's a pressure plate here. Should we try to disable it?
No, just go around it.
He does. Then examines the door for a moment before tentatively opening the door. What sounds like a shotgun blast explodes into the hallway and knocks Polly right on top of the pressure plate. I can't be sure between the echoing explosion and the ringing in my ears, but I think I hear a click. Polly is squirming on the ground and we run to him. He gives us a thumbs up, and I give him a thumbs up back.
Ish. Nahakta. Ow.
He barely gets out. I remember his health bar and see that it's full.
Hori.
It's fine. No one was hurt, and that's how you're going to gain skill and detect traps.
Polly grins.
I did gain a point of skill.
The room beyond is very dark, and I try to retrieve a torch before we go in, but they seem to be magically held in place. Thankfully, we all know the spell sparks, and we take turns casting it, giving us brief flashes of our surroundings. I have fully regenerated all of my energy by the time everyone has cast the spell after me, so we have an unending rotation. I feel the ground turn soft. Flash. We are walking on red carpet. There is a warm breeze coming from the far end of the room. Flash. There are paintings of old, strange-looking men and women on the walls. They look like they belong in a Rob Zombie movie. There is an odor of sulfur in the air. Flash. There is a giant saddle, perhaps 12 feet wide to our left, on a stand. Flash. An old man with high cheekbones, short gray hair, bushy eyebrows is staring at us, only 3 feet ahead. His body looks relaxed with his hands folded together in front of him, but he has his lips peeled back in something that looks like a snarl. He's wearing a gray wool robe, and his teeth are filed to points. We freeze, fear washing over me. Flash, he is gone. There is a roar ahead of us that sounds like a bear, if a bear could shake the floor with. Flash, fire fills a hole in the wall the size of a basement window. The fire lingers in the air beyond our sight for a moment and illuminates a mass of bones that shoots by. Seeing the path is clear to the hollow in the wall, I sprint forward and look through the rectangle. There is a miles-long chamber beyond. We must be 300 feet up from the city streets. The buildings are tall, some taller than where we are at right now and made of stone. Many are rubble and it appears to be abandoned. There is no movement besides one lone bone dragon, flying about blasting fire here and there.
The sound of the explosion must have riled it up.
What is this place?
Oh, I'm sure there's some great lore behind it that we will learn. But I think, most importantly, it's where our boss fight is.
The dragon comes back toward us, its empty eye sockets staring right at our window. We all instinctively step to the sides as it nears. It blows fire through the window. That goes all the way to the door that we came in through, lighting up our whole room and catching the carpet on fire. Harsh, dark smoke begins filling the room. I look through the window again. The dragon is a ways away, falling backwards in a spiral, blowing fire into the air. The entire party is coughing. The fire crawls quickly across the carpet, and the flames are unnaturally high, as if the carpet is made from something extremely flammable. I can see no other choice. I climb out the window. It's tight, and I have to sit on the windowsill, then pull myself up to get my legs free. The wall is jagged and cracked with lots of easy hand and footholds. Anyone could climb on it, and it's a good thing, because I haven't climbed much of anything since I was a kid. Hannah is the next to come through.
What are we going to do when the dragon comes back?
I don't know, but we can't stay in there. Currently, the dragon is halfway across the city, flying in a big circle. It's just starting to head back toward us. One by one, we all get out of the window, but most of us are scattered to either side of it. I think I have an idea. Everyone, climb above the window. This thing moves fast. Hurry. Elliot gets here first.
What makes you think it's not going to just roast us?
It might, but what can we really do about that?
What are we going to do if it doesn't?
The dragon nears us and blows its fire back into the window, missing us. Well, not even aiming for us, really. I lean out as far as my arms allow me while my feet stay positioned on the wall to try and see inside. It's an inferno in there, and the old man is standing in the window. His body is turned to bone, and he too is on fire. Flames lick out from inside his robes, which appear to be untouched. He reminds me of Ghost Rider, if Ghost Rider pretended to be a monk. The dragon lands with its front claws and legs below the window and sticks its snout up to the window. It blows more fire on the skeleton before letting go and putting its side to the window so the skeleton can climb onto its back. The skeleton sticks one leg out of the window to get on. Jump, I say, and jump onto the bony back of the dragon. It hurts, and I think I'm gonna fall through it before I get a good grip on one of its ribs. The others jump in unison, all of us easily fitting onto its back ribs. The dragon can't support the weight of all of us and begins to lose elevation. The skeleton adeptly drops through the air and lands on 2 feet, standing on the bobbing up and down dragon like it's the ground.
The rider is likely just as powerful as the dragon,
Elliot tells us. The rider begins chanting a spell, and I whack him in the mouth with my staff. I deal enough damage to cause its health bar to move, but it doesn't interrupt the spell. Hannah gets behind it and kicks at the back of its knee, causing it to buckle. The rider is on one knee like it's going to propose. Its hands are in front of itself, palms up, and it finishes the spell. A flaming longsword appears, laying atop the bony hands. In fluid motion, it grips the sword's handle with one hand and turns around, swinging down at Hannah, who drops into the ribcage of the dragon. Before the sword makes contact with the dragon's bones where she was standing, the rider turns towards me. The dragon must be out of stamina because we are in nearly a free fall now. 4 seconds at best before we hit the ground. We're going to land on a cobblestone street next to some buildings that are several stories high. Polly jumps off and glides away above those buildings, but this seems to make little difference to the dragon. Jesse, who is a little ways behind the rider, points down into the ribcage next to Hannah. I jump down there beside her, but I fail to stick the landing. My feet hits the lower rib, but I have too much momentum and slide off. I wrap my arms around the bone, preventing myself from completely falling through, but my legs are dangling, and I don't have a good grip. The rider nimbly lets itself down, hanging onto the upper ribs with one hand, sword in the other. It lands on its feet just like when it arrived. Elliot attacks it with his whip, wrapping leather around its neck. He pulls, but the bones do not break. Jesse is now in the cage behind the rider, who is focused on Elliot. The rider brings its sword up to slice the whip, and Elliot tugs again, harder, causing it to lose its balance and drop the sword. Jesse pushes the skeleton and it falls forward, between 2 ribs. We gain experience as the mob hits the ground and dies. I look down. We are a heartbeat from hitting the ground and meeting the same fate as our foe when green light flashes above me. I look to see Julian knelt down, palms against the top of the ribcage emitting light. The dragon flaps its wings, struggling to stop the fall. We lift slightly before smashing into the ground. The sound of the skeleton hitting the ground is violent. I am reminded of the car accident from when I was a teenager. I am glad that I don't black out, but the pain is fierce. I feel bones in my legs snap. Everyone's health bar plummets. Dust flies into the air and choke eye on it. It's difficult to see, and everyone around me is screaming in pain.
You have received a new trophy! A silver boss kill!
In agony, I wonder for a moment if the trophy message format is slightly different sometimes. The pain starts to subside, and I remember to breathe deeply. Our health bars are already going back up.
Why didn't we die?
Hannah asks, while watching her forearm unbreak.
I restored its stamina right at the end there. It was trying to stop itself from falling.
Julian tells us. Is that why your name is Gray? I ask.
Yes, because I helped a mob. Players can attack me without penalty until it turns back to blue.
Huh, good to know. I say.
It's pretty rare that you will help a mob for any reason other than to screw with another person, and it will give you a warning before you complete the action.
Elliot says.
Where did Polly go?
He was able to glide pretty far, but he knows where we fell. He'll be back.
You sound so sure.
He's just trying to survive, and he knows he has the best chance with us. Plus, he needs his class key.
I walk over to where the dragon rider lays dead. It landed face down and the front of it is cracked and crushed. I reach out and touch it. My inventory opens as well as a second, smaller inventory window that belongs to the skeleton. There are 4 icons that look like big rounded metal keys. I take one. Then out of curiosity, I try to take a second, but it doesn't let me.
You may only possess one of this lore item.
I step away from the corpse and both inventories close. Got it, I tell the others. While they get their keys, I check the dragon's corpse. There are 6 lootable dragon bones. I figure it must be useful, so I take one out of its inventory. Then, since it must be useful, I try to pick up one of the corpse's bones off the ground. I can't. It's magically held in place or something. Hey, Elliot, what's a dragon bone used for? And why can I only loot them and not pick them up off the ground like I did with the femur bat?
They're used in crafting. Dragon bones contain magic, and sometimes you can upgrade or learn new spells with them. Other times they add magical properties to weapons and armor. You never know what they will do for sure until you place them in fire in your rest area. They are highly coveted items.
Well, good news. There's one for each of us.
Now listen, everyone. You have your class keys, but do not activate them yet. Please wait until we are back at the shelter. You can activate them now, but it may or may not incapacitate you, just like the race keys for some time. And you never know what could come next here.
I guess we'll just wait for Polly then.
Jesse says. I take the class key out of my inventory and examine it. It's smooth and surprisingly heavy. It's a little bit longer than one of my hands. How do you use this? I ask, no one specific.
If it's like the race keys, you have to swallow it.
What? I ask, and Jesse laughs.
You break it like a glow stick.
I feel tempted to just get it done, but I heed Elliot's advice and put it back into my inventory. I'm going to have a look around. I announce.
We'll be here.
Where to then?
Julian replies, but Elliot and Hannah get up from where they're sitting. I figure we'll just take a look down the street. The first 2 buildings have their windows and doors boarded up, and I don't really want to make the sound that would be required to remove the boards, so we stop at the 3rd building, which has a large wrought iron gate that creaks when I open it. There's a dirt walkway leading up to worn white stairs. There's a porch that the rest of the building hangs over, casting it in shadow. Stone pillars support the massive weight above the porch. To me, it almost looks like the entrance to a house, except it's several stories high. The front door is wooden with a brass doorknob. I check for traps and don't see any. To be safe, Elliot does too. Determining it's clear, he tries the handle and announces that it's locked. Aren't you a pathfinder? Should be easy for you to unlock it.
Yes, but you and Hannah need skill, and we have time.
I rub my eyes, feeling a slight bit of impatience. Fine, you're right, I tell him. I struggle with the lock. It's a lot harder than the one from the tutorial. There are more teeth and I can't find a position for them that allows it to turn. After a few minutes, I accidentally break the lockpick. I give a little grunt of frustration, but happy to see in the chat log my skill is now at level 3. I don't remember it going to level 2, but I miss a lot of stuff in the log. I'm still not used to really paying attention to it.
Let me have a try.
Please do. She struggles with it slightly longer than I do. She is a lot more delicate with the tool, but in the end it still breaks.
Not bad. Not bad. Let me have a go at it. We don't want to break too many lockpicks, but it's important to practice. Every day, if you can.
He produces his own lockpick, which appear to be made of stronger, cleaner metal than mine and Hannah's. He slides the pick in, gives it a little wiggle and turns. The door opens right up.
Nice.
The smell of death wafts out when he opens the door.
Oh, for fuck's sake. You had to choose this one?
Right? I ask in return, but lead the way in. The place is old and appears to have been a storefront at one time. There are display cases made of stone, but if they ever had glass, it is long gone. Like the windows outside, it's just stone then open air. A staircase leading up waits at the back of the room. In front of it is a stone half wall with a cash register sitting on it. I take a closer look at it, and it has what looks like English letters on it, but if they spell anything, it's in a language I've never seen before. The whole thing looks old, like it's out of the 1920s. The buttons on it are mechanical but laid out sort of like a modern keyboard. I push the one that most closely resembles an enter key. The drawer pops open, and instead of rows for paper money, there are spring-loaded coin slots. They are all empty except for the row second from the right has a single gold coin with more of the unreadable writing on the front and back. I take it out and flip it in the air before catching it and putting it into my inventory.
Score?
There are more types of coins than just gold? I ask.
Absolutely. There's copper, silver, gold, and platinum. Platinum is of course quite rare and is often a hassle because no one wants to make change for it.
Hannah snaps her fingers twice to get our attention. She's standing where the stairs turn and make a 180 to finish the flight. She's staring at something on the second floor, which is still several steps above her. Elliot and I quietly walk over to see what she's looking at. There are tables with chairs in the room, organized like you might find inside of a restaurant. Forward and to the left is a dance floor with room for a band, and directly ahead of us is more stairs leading to the next floors. There are 3 decaying bodies standing and walking around aimlessly between the tables. The stench is awful, and one of them is dragging a chair behind itself.
Walkers.
Nope, we are not doing that. They are zombies, I say, a little too loud. The one carrying the chair turns and throws it at me. Really fucking hard. I duck and it slams into the wall behind me with enough force to fall apart. Chair zombie and the other one stare at us, and for a moment we stare back. I pick up a leg that broke off the chair and throw it at the zombie. Pow! Right in the kisser. The zombie howls, and they all shamble toward us. Elliot lashes his whip out first and gets one around the ankle. He gives it a tug, and the zombie falls onto the wood floor, actually sounding like a sack of potatoes. A second one is nearing the top of the stairs that lead down to us. The third is trying to figure out how to get around a table. I walk up to the top of the stairs and slam my staff into the closest one's ankle. It too goes down easily. I move toward the remaining one, but Hannah stops me.
Wait, let's see what happens to it on the stairs.
It's a good thought, and I move back down to be next to her and Elliot. It takes a couple of minutes, but the zombie finally finds its way around the table and to the top of the stairs. It stares blankly at me the entire time, then, without even a hint of acknowledgement that there are stairs, it gets to the first step and immediately crashes down. We step out of the way.
These are the exact opposite of the zombies that we had. They're slow and strong. Ours were extremely fast, but very weak. I think I like these better. They are less intimidating. I wouldn't let one get a hold of me, though. I reckon it could rip a limb right off.
So if they bite us, do we turn into zombies?
Yes, but not in the way that you think. Zombies have a disease that takes over the brain. They control it completely, but the disease is stupid. It doesn't realize the body it's taking over. Needs oxygen or for the heart to beat, so the host body dies. The disease then spreads into all the extremities via a fungal-like substance and turns it into something like a puppet. A signal can start in the brain and be sent through fungi, which activate whichever nerves and muscles it needs to move the body. The disease mainly reproduces itself in the gums of the host. If you look inside the mouth of one of these, you will see goo around the gums. But you won't get infected just by touching the goo. It has to get into your bloodstream, which is why being bit is so dangerous.
The zombies are still trying to get up and back onto their feet, but don't seem to have the motor control. The closest any of them have gotten is onto one knee.
How do you kill them?
You gotta smoosh their brain. But the rest of the disease is still throughout the body, and it may attack or continue to walk around for several minutes after you destroy the brain.
Gross.
I stepped to the one which fell on the floor next to us and jammed the end of my staff into its head. I expected a screech or something, but it just twitched, and this time at least it stopped moving around. I looked in my chat log and confirmed I had indeed killed it and gained experience. I examined the end of my staff when I pull it back out for signs of the disease and see a gross, thick goo the color of green that rotten meat sometimes gets. Is this going to be a problem? I ask Elliot.
Probably not. The disease dies in seconds when exposed to air without a host body. Plus, if the disease hasn't gotten a good hold on you, Julianne can probably heal you. Regardless, try not to get bit. It's very painful.
Being bit or being cured?
Both.
Elliot and Hannah finish off the other two stupid zombies with pieces of the chair.
We should go look for Polly. These things are not that big of a problem when it's just a few of them. But if you get much more than that, it's easy to get overwhelmed. He could be stuck somewhere.
We head back outside, and I tell Jesse and Julian that there's zombies in the buildings and we should go find Polly. They don't seem surprised by this, and we head down the street. Until it comes to a T and we head left. This street looks much the same, except a lot of these buildings still have signs outside of them, written in the same language as the cash register. These buildings seem rather large for shops. I say,
What makes you so sure they were shops? They could be lawyers, business consultants, or finance offices. People around here fight with swords and magic, but there are still advanced cultures.
I really hadn't considered that. I was honestly picturing all of the NPCs as being blacksmiths, hunters, farmers, or something like that. I suppose that makes sense, I reply.
Speaking of swords, I feel like there's rather a lack of them around here. This place is supposed to be like a game, right? In the games that I've played, there was loot. The sword that Dragon Rider had seemed to just disappear.
Jesse says,
The dungeon emulates various types of media from your planet. It takes some aspects from video games, yes. You will see a lot more loot after you've chosen your class. You may have passed the tutorial on your first day, but you are still at the very beginning of all this. That sword didn't disappear, though.
Elliot must have had the sword in his inventory because it appears in his hand.
I was going to talk to your guide about what we should do with this. It's one of the best swords that I've ever seen in the dungeon.
The conversation is put on hold as we turn right down another street, and I smell the stench before I hear the screams. There are less buildings down this one, but it is still very urban. There appears to be a park with a dilapidated gazebo. The ground around it is dirt, but if there had ever been grass, it probably looked pretty nice. We must be a little bit more worried than anyone is letting on because we're jogging now. We turn left for the next street. I notice an odd street sign, but I can't read the street sign. I ask what it spells, pointing at it.
I don't know. You can learn that language. I know people who did, but I never bothered.
What's it called?
Scarengard.
Neat, I say. Polly sounds absolutely frantic. He's ahead and to the right. He's gotta be down the next street. I run as fast as I can, getting winded now, but I run anyway. If I don't get there soon, the dungeon will slow me down. Just like when the dragon ran out of stamina. I turn the corner before the others and see him. In the sky, about 20 feet off the ground, flapping as hard as he can. With an absolute horde of zombies reaching up for him, at least 50, maybe closer to 100. "Polly," I call out. The others turn the corner and see what I see just as we are teleported out.